Hi everyone, today we will talk about HIRARC in dust explosion. Disclaimer: this video is for learning experience purpose and not meant for industry practicing. In this video, we will talk about what is HIRARC, general workflow of HIRARC, risk assessment, case study of dust explosion, and HIRARC form. What is HIRARC? HIRARC is hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk control. The purpose of HIRARC are to identify all the factors that may cause harm to employees and others, the hazard. To consider what the chances are of that harm actually befalling anyone in the circumstance of a particular case and the possible severity that could come from it. And the last one is to enable employers to plan, introduce, and monitor preventive measures to ensure that the risks are adequately controlled at all times. Here we can see that there is 5 stages of controls, which is elimination, substitution, engineering control, administration control, and the last one is PPE. Next, in the box we can see the general workflow of HIRARC. This process of HIRARC requires only 4 simple steps, which is the first one is classify work activities, identify hazard, conduct risk assessment, analyze and estimate risk from each hazard by calculating or estimating the likelihood of occurrence and severity of hazard. And the last one is decide if risk is tolerable and apply control measures if necessary. Here is the likelihood table. We can see here the most likely result of hazard would be on the rating 5, while on the rating 1, the likelihood is inconceivable, which is practically impossible and has never been occurred. The lower the rating means that the lower the hazard will be. Next is severity table. In this table, we can see that catastrophic has the highest rating, followed by fatal, serious, minor, and negligible. This is the example of risk metric table. This table shows the likelihood of an accident occurring and the severity of that accident. From this table, we can identify how dangerous the hazard is for us. If the risk is between 15 to 25, it means that the risk is high. A high risk requires immediate action to control the hazard as detailed in the hierarchy of control. Action taken must be documented on the risk assessment form, including date for completion. If the risk is between 5 to 12, it means that the risk is in the medium level. A medium risk requires a planned approach to controlling the hazard and applies temporary measures if required. Action taken must be documented on the risk assessment form, including date for completion. Lastly, if the risk is between 1 to 4, it is the low risk. A risk identified as low may be considered as acceptable, and further reduction may not be necessary. However, if the risk can be resolved quickly and efficiently, control measures should be implemented and recorded. Next, we move to the case study of dust explosion. Dust explosion occurs when flammable dust condenses in a confined space. When combustible dust is combined with oxygen, it creates a hazardous explosion risk. This circumstance creates an explosive environment in which dust particles explode when they come into touch with an ignition source. The element of a combustible dust explosion includes combustible dust, distribution of dust particles, confined dust cloud, oxygen, and ignition source. As an example of a catastrophic aluminum alloy dust explosion case in China, a dust explosion caused 146 people to lose their life, more or less immediately, and another 114 people were injured. It also caused full destruction of the factory with the direct economic loss of 351 million won. Now we will be looking at the HIRARC form. The name of the company is ABC Metal Product & Co. And the work process is polishing car wheel hubs, release of aluminum dust, cleaning of the dust collected back by manually shaking ash, and its location is in China. From this table, we can see the first work activity is polishing car wheel hubs, and the first hazard is cutting. Polishing activities will use electric grinding gun as the main tool can cause minor or major injuries to workers. The existing control measure for this hazard is safeguard machinery and equipment, and a suitable PPE such as protective glove is provided and worn. The likelihood is 4 and the severity is 2, so the risk is 8, which is considered as medium risk. The recommended control measures for the hazard is training should be provided for all workers, and warning labels should be provided at all machine and working stations. Next, the second hazard is exposure to aluminum alloy dust and inhalation of aluminum alloy dust. The risk effect of this hazard is cause respiratory problems for a long time exposure, irritation of skin and eyes. The existing control measures for this hazard is space with ventilation and protective work clothing from head to toe such as cap, apron and mask are provided and worn. The likelihood of this hazard is 4 and severity is 5. So the risk level is in the highest level, which is 20. Recommended control measures for this hazard is installation of dust vacuum separator, besides a dust collection system that removes particulate contaminants from the air. The second work activity is the release of aluminum dust. The hazard is high surrounding temperature. The risk effect is it can cause unanticipated self-ignition process. The existing control measure is open windows and add fans to increase air movement, and also cool down the system by shutting it down. The likelihood of this hazard is 3 and severity is 4. The risk level is 12. The recommended control measure for this hazard is thermal condition may need to be monitored regularly and use temperature detector. The last work activity is cleaning of the dust collector bag by manually shaking ash. The hazard in this activity is inhalation of explosion of the dust. It can cause respiratory problems such as pulmonary fibrosis, and the explosion caused death to worker and disaster. No control measure taken as the broken equipment were not repaired, instead use manual labor to replace the machine duty. The likelihood of this hazard is 3 and the severity is 5. So the risk level of this hazard is 15. The recommended control measure for these activities is install and repair the electric motor of the automatic shaking system for cleaning the dust collector bag, and frequently service all the machinery and equipment. That's all for HIRARC in dust explosion. Thank you.